This episode of Gators Breakdown is brought to you by MyBookie. Use promo code Gators to double your first deposit only at mybookie.ag. This episode of Gators Breakdown is also brought to you by Shark Coatings. Visit sharkfloorcoatings.com when you need professional floor coating services done right the first time.
Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month. Get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today. Gators Breakdown. Because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Doing something a little bit different this week. I know not everybody, a lot of you out there struggling with the hurricane out there. I've got to work it too with my normal job, my regular job. So the end of this week's kind of thrown up in the air just a bit. So this episode of Gators Breakdown will be the last one of the week, kind of doing something different. Going to give you guys a preview of some of the chats we do on Gators Breakdown Plus. So if you want to join Gators Breakdown Plus, link is in the description. Only starts at $3 a month, but we have these chats on here. I share, record, put them out there for Gators Breakdown Plus members. So it's a Gators Breakdown Plus member chat and send it out to members for our members only episodes. So you get a gist of how we do that there. Some good conversation going on with the depth chart that was released. A lot of changes on the depth chart this week for the Gators ahead of the Eastern Washington game that is now on Sunday, of course, instead of Saturday. So if you missed that, I doubt you did. But if you did, instead of Saturday at noon, game is that Sunday at noon, and a lot of changes some interesting changes on the depth chart. Not a lot, interesting. Better way to describe it there. So a little bit different this week. Not really a preview of Eastern Washington. Should be a game Florida should control. So hopefully that holds true. So you'll get a chat here, some good conversation going on with me and Gators Breakdown Plus members. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really, really helps us out here on this YouTube version. And you can check us out at newsforjacks.com/Gators Breakdown. And also the link is in the description for as well for Gators Breakdown Plus. So a lot of good stuff going on there, that Discord chat all the time. And one of the features of that Discord chat is a voice chat where we get to have a voice chat back and forth with members. So you get a preview of that right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. Plenty of storylines came out today from the SEC teleconference and the normal Wednesday media session. They did move it up an hour, Billy Napier said, because, of course, the storm coming through, so their team is going to have Thursday off and come back on Friday. But, of course, with the game now being on Sunday against Eastern Washington, that kind of opens the schedule up a little bit. But let's start with the depth chart. Probably besides this would be the most newsworthy depth chart release since the very first one. Of course, the very first week of the season versus Utah, and then this one right here versus Eastern Washington. Well, a lot can be taken away from it. So, we'll start on offense. Not much has changed there when we look at it. A lot of it's on defense, special teams as well. But, yeah, let's just go through Henderson, Shorter, Pearsall, your top three receivers. Depth chart doesn't change much behind those guys either. And then Garage, White, Egwicon, Torrance, Barber. So it does look like, of course, Michael Tarquin. He is still listed out. He is on the injury report, lower body injury. So there's one little note, of course, still listed as out, not even questionable. Jack Miller, upper body injury, of course. I think the thumb. He is listed as questionable this week versus Eastern Washington. Anthony Richardson, Jalen Kitna, or Kyle Engel there for quarterbacks. Naquan Wright, Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, or Lorenzo Lingard for the running back. So no surprise there. But then we go to defense, and we move to the other side, and it's apparent right away with the way Florida puts this out. At defensive end, Justice Boone gets to start on the depth chart, or is listed top of the depth chart, ahead of Princely Umanmielen. And look, that's probably warranted. Justice Boone had the big hit versus Kentucky. You go and look at the game versus Tennessee as well. Does his job, not just going out there and making tackles. It's going out there and just doing your job, whether it holding the edge, holding contain. Justice Boone has done a good job of that as well, especially for a young player. And look, I thought we had probably some high thoughts of Princely coming into this season, but it seems like to me Justice Boone gets out there. He's more of a playmaker so far than Princely through 4 games of the season. So should be no surprise. We see a depth chart now with Princely behind Justice Boone. Go to nose tackle, Des Watson, Jalen Lee, Jalen Humphreys, Jamari Lyons, Jervon Dexter there at defensive end. Behind him, Tyreek Sapp and Chris McClellan. A nice little, Eastern Washington is probably a good opponent, but I'm eager to see. And I got passed up twice today, so unfortunately I wasn't able to ask. I was going to ask Billy Napier about the defensive line and the production of Jervon Dexter. Of course, the stat numbers aren't there. Look, he doesn't really play a stat machine position anyway. Also, offenses are focused on him. Double teams are coming there. But, of course, at the same time, I think we still expected a little more production there from Jervon Dexter. So just wanted to get Billy Napier's thoughts on him so far through there. But also, if Chris McClellan has also put in enough playing time and enough plays, we saw some good plays versus Tennessee with him, that if he's vying for some more snaps as the season goes forward. So maybe next week. That question will still be valid next week. So Britton Cox there at Jack as well. Antoine Powell, Lloyd Summerall, David Reese behind him. Linebacker Ventrell Miller is on the depth chart. I don't know how much he'll play versus Eastern Washington. So, we'll see. A valiant effort to go out there and play versus Tennessee. I would not expect, even if he's listed, even if he plays, to see him out there too much. But also, we talked about it on the Discord a little bit that, this is his last go-around as a Gator. And if he wants to go out there and play, then go out there and let him play. I know we want him for bigger and better games down the road, but if he feels the need to go out there and play, this is his last go-around, his last year in a Gator uniform. I can't fault him one bit to go out there and want to play the game of football. Now, in a Gator uniform. Listed behind him is Scooby Williams and Derek Wingo. At the other linebacker spot, Amari Burney and Shamar James. So I do think we'll see a pretty good linebacker rotation this week versus Eastern Washington. Here we go. Star, Trevez Johnson, Jadarius Perkins, Kamara Wilcoxon. First cornerback spot, Jason Marshall, Devin Moore, Jordan Young. That's your depth chart there. And here we go. We're going to keep it going. Safety, Rashad Torrance. Backed up for him is Corey Collier. And then the other safety spot. The way we'll end this depth chart with the newsmakers. Kamari Wilson gets a start there. It says, or Donovan McMillan. So I think Billy Napier did say it would be Wilson. McMillan would also play. When he was talking about the press, when he was talking in the press conference there, Miguel Mitchell also listed there, but it looks like Kamari Wilson, true freshman, will get the start ahead of, and this has been a popular topic since the Tennessee game, of course, Trey Dean, who is listed out with a lower body injury. So, look, the staff has been pretty straightforward with us in the media. Could there be more to this? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. We'll see. But also, it does time up with a pretty bad trading performance versus Tennessee. And now Kamari Wilson is listed as a starter on the depth chart there along with Donovan McMillan. And then at the other cornerback spot, the other newsmaker, Jaden Hill, was back and as listed as a starter opposite Jason Marshall. Backing up him, Avery Helm, and Jalen Kimber. So, Jaden Hill back. Been practicing the last couple of weeks. I did not, in talking to people before the season started, there was a thought they didn't want it out there too much. Hill was injured, re-injured his last knee injury that he had, and didn't look good. But now, fortunate, it looks like all is good to go. He's been practicing the last few weeks, and is now going to get his first start of the season there for the Gators. So good to see Jaden Hill back out there. And, we've seen Avery Helm struggle a bit. Saw him struggle last week versus Tennessee, and also falling down a whole lot. So let me also make sure, as we're recording this is the beauty of technology. Florida has sent out an updated depth chart. So don't think major, probably DeJuan Black will be listed on this one. I think that's what I saw on Twitter. And yes, there he is. DeJuan Black is now listed, not as a starter, but is now listed behind Amari Burney and Shamar James for the linebacker spot. So, and of course, that name also garnering some attention today. We'll get into that as well. But Florida, just as I'm recording this sends out an updated depth chart. DeJuan Black is on there. Don't think there's any other changes that I can see. Just quickly going through it, quickly peeking at it. I don't think so. So all right, there we go. Okay, and then so that's for offense and defense. Now, if we go to kickoff return, there's another one. It's Jamarcus Weston, Trevor Etienne, Naquan Wright, Trevez Johnson. No Xavier Henderson on kickoff return. So I know of one change that we were ready to see, willing to see, because of just a lack of production there. Billy Napier discussed it earlier this week in his Monday press conference, basically saying they're going to try, basically, with it all paraphrasing, they're going to try some different things there. And there's your first change right there that we see on kickoff return, on special teams. Trying to get something going there maybe. But Jamarcus Weston, who has been on there before, earlier in the season, it was him and Xavier Henderson. And now it was Xavier Henderson, Trevor Etienne the last couple of weeks. And now it's Jamarcus Weston, Trevor Etienne as the first two names on kickoff return depth chart. So, Weston's supposed to be one of the fastest players on the team. Maybe we get to see it. We haven't really we've yet to see that come to fruition. Trevor Etienne, we see him on offense at the running back position. We see the versatility he plays with there. We've yet to really see him get a kickoff return chance, even though he's been back there. So maybe some things are changing right there to get some more production out of kickoff returns. Injury report, one more time. Reminder, trading out this lower body injury. I haven't heard anything. That was a surprise to me when I saw the depth chart as well. Granted, I haven't really been asking around a whole lot this week, trying to make sure everything's buttoned up and good for the family as I go work hurricane coverage this week. But still, did not really hear a whole lot there. Jack Miller, questionable. Marco Ortiz out. Michael Tarquin out. So there we go. There's your depth chart ahead of the Eastern Washington game that is now, of course, on Sunday. One more time, reminder, team will be off on Thursday, Billy Napier says. And we'll be back on Friday. So, all right, there is that. I was trying to get a setup because I want to put this in the episode in this chat. I am recording it for an episode as well, and we'll play Billy Napier today on the SEC teleconference. and what he had to say about DeJuan Black. And surprise, Florida looks like they're just righting the wrong there of not listening to DeJuan Black on the depth chart. It's just one player now. Florida could have just easily, I think it was Nick De La Torre, good buddy there, who tweeted, "Hey, it was a mistake. Florida's going to re-release the depth chart." They could have just left it on social media or Twitter or something like that. But I felt, I guess they felt the need to put it back out there that, hey, DeJuan Black should be on the depth chart. We will update it. So, okay, good move by Florida right there. Before we get to the DeJuan Black comments, I see the chat's kind of filled up a little bit now, much better than it was when I started depth chart talk. So, guys, I have no idea what some of you guys are dealing with out there. So, thanks for hopping in here. If you want to unmute yourself, get in here. We'll talk what you see from the depth chart, what you like, what you don't like. There's some feedback there if you want to have some conversation. No takers. Look at you. Come on now.
Hey, Dave.
What's up?
Hey, I might have missed it. What's going on with Tarquin? Do you have any detail on that?
Details. I don't really know as far as he just had the lower body injury, and that was what, the Kentucky game, early in the Kentucky game when that happened.
Yeah, I remember it. Maybe I don't remember it that well, but it didn't look like something that was going to linger this long. So, or maybe they're just giving him another week to heal?
Yeah, I didn't think it would be quite this long either. I have not heard that it's like a season ender, and I don't think it's a season ender. So, I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll probably can clear that up. I'm pretty sure he's not out for the season. Well,
that's good.
Yeah, and it could be that it is Eastern Washington, and we're going to give him another week off. So, now I look at it that way too with Ventrell Miller. I could have just because he played last week, they may just leave him on the depth chart. It's kind of his decision, kind of like it was last week if he wants to play or not. But for Tarquin, I can just see, hey, there's really Austin Barber's playing well. You don't really need to go rush back out there.
Yeah, Barber has really stepped up. I'm not surprised. I mean, he showed a little bit of something last season, but I keep waiting for Cameron Waits to come out there.
Yeah, I know.
It'd be hard to miss.
Yeah, he is listed behind Barber at right tackle. So, if Tarquin comes back, what does that do for Waits? I guess that is another change here I see on the depth chart. Left tackle Josh Braun is listed as the backup to Richard Garage. Yeah, and I didn't see that until now either. And Jalen Farmer is now listed as the backup to Osiris Torrance at right guard. So interesting.
Yeah.
So given the opponent, and hopefully Florida goes out there and dominates Eastern Washington, do we see Josh Braun at left tackle? Do we see Cam Waits at right tackle? That's probably something. Now, South Florida should have been that blowout, and unfortunately it was not. But with the very tough schedule Florida opened up with, we have not seen a whole lot of going down the depth chart a good bit, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We've seen it on defense a little bit, and I know a lot of people want to see some more people play. But we've seen Shamar James out there. We've seen him go down the depth chart with Scooby Williams at linebacker as well. We've seen, especially up front, we've seen Sapp, we've seen McClellan, we've seen Jalen Lee, Boone, Human Mielin. I mean, we've seen defense kind of go deep. We've seen it in the secondary a whole lot too. Offense, we have not really got to see that a whole bit, except for the running back spot. But wide receiver has pretty much been Henderson, Shorter, Pearsall, Whittemore, and that's about it. Couple Bowman carries out there and a reception, but that's really about it. Weston at receiver, Burke at receiver, Reynolds at receiver, Frazier's in the Kentucky game, but we haven't seen a whole lot from him either. We haven't seen the offense go deep into the depth chart yet.
Yeah, but it's interesting that Bowman was out there at such a pivotal point last weekend. So, but they clearly have some people rising. Weston is such a, I don't know what's going on, because every offseason the players report he's the fastest guy on the team or close to it, and then he doesn't seem to show. So
no, yeah, we have definitely.
I like moving him instead of Henderson because we're not getting anything from that.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
We're getting negative from that.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. If you're going to keep bringing it, and this was something about kickoff return I had mentioned on Twitter in response to somebody, and I was like, I can see them trying it one more time the way they have been doing it, but changing the personnel. And still, of course, emphasizing you cannot have those penalties. I can see him, all right, let's change some personnel, and let's go with it again, see if we can just stop these penalties. I say 2 more games and it continues the way we have seen it. All right, we're fair catching everything from now on.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the expected returns. I'm not 100% that those stats take into account the rule change, which was it last season that they moved it to 25? It might have been 2020.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what year, but yeah.
But I mean, if it's trailing like most statistics, like let's say a 5-year average or something like that, I just don't see the value in it. I mean, obviously it hasn't played out well for us. If we wanted to break one out from time to time, is that really going to be the game changer as opposed to what we've been doing, averaging like starting at our 11? I don't know. I'd prefer to see just get to the 25 safely and let AR work from there.
Yeah, I also it was something I wanted to go back and look at. Somebody may have already done this out there. The drives Florida actually has gotten a penalty on, and they start pretty deep in their own territory. What has been the outcome on those drives? Has Florida went on to score anyway? Don't get me wrong, you don't want it to happen, but has Florida going to score anyway?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it just makes it harder. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not really excusing it. I mean, I don't even care if Florida's scored on every one of them. You still don't want to see it.
Right.
I'm trying to think, was the Richardson where the Kentucky number 15, where Richardson rolled out and the guy just kind of snatched it out of the air? Florida was deep in their own territory when that happened, but was that off of a kickoff return? That they started deep because of that? Oh, I don't remember.
In all likelihood it is, but I don't remember specifically.
Yeah, I don't either. I might be trying to reach there, but
I'm already trying to forget the Kentucky game, honestly.
It wouldn't take me long to figure out, but
painful.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you like the changes on defense on depth chart?
I mean, for me, if no one else is wanting to jump in, I don't want to take up all this time, but I don't know what's up with the Dean thing. I don't know if it is Napier's style to give him a little cover for being sat, because I mean, obviously, I think there is a morale component there, because regardless of what we see Dean doing on the field, we know he's a leader in the locker room, or at least that's the way I perceive it. So honestly, I wouldn't see anything bad about them giving he's hurt, that's why he's not playing sort of reasoning. But personally, I wanted to see Kamari Wilson in there or Corey Collier, and that's 1 and 2 at his position. So I'm ecstatic with that change. I mean, it shows that he's willing to. I mean, that's one of the characteristics that we criticize Mullen for. So if Napier is going to actually play the best player, and we've seen him putting more and more freshman snaps into the rotation, including true freshmen, then we really have to praise him when he does that. I think that's an important characteristic for our coach.
Absolutely. And to keep that going, so we'll keep that going with DeJuan Black and what Napier had to say about him today. So hopefully I got this set up the right way and you guys can hear this soundbite.
I think it is a privilege and a great honor to step between the lines, to be one of 11 that represents the University of Florida. Not to be taken lightly. We don't just give those opportunities away, right? So I think the key, much like a lot of players on our team, maybe who role is small or maybe not as big as we would like or they would like, it's about consistency, right? Not only as a football player, but as a human being, understanding the plan, knowing what to do, and in a practice environment, proving and showing that you can do your job consistently for the team. But there's no question DeJuan at times flashes and has some ability. So we're hopeful that he continues to grow and mature and gets more opportunities in the future. But that's going to be up to him and his attitude and his work ethic.
You know football, and you pick winners all the time. So why not get paid for them at MyBookie? Bet single game spreads, money lines, or parlay multiple together to increase your payouts. Low contest entry fees and over $500,000 to be won make it so you don't have to be a pro gambler to have fun. Getting started is easy. Just visit mybookie.ag, use promo code Gators on your first deposit to secure a double deposit bonus. That's promo code Gators to get your first deposit matched dollar for dollar all the way up to $1,000. MyBookie is a proven sports book that makes it simple to bet and win. So make this your winning season exclusively at MyBookie at mybookie.ag.
You know the goosebumps you get when Florida takes the field? Or when that 63-yard Hail Mary actually works? Or the thrill of a game-winning interception in the end zone? What a rush! You can experience that same rush every day at your home with Shark Coatings. We'll cover your old, ugly concrete with a beautiful industrial concrete coating and a warranty that lasts longer than most careers in professional football. So whether your garage floor is for parking, partying, or working out, Shark Coatings can transform it. And if your pool deck is starting to look like a bulldog, old, cracked, and smells like pee, Shark Coatings can transform that too. Shark Coatings is easy to clean, stain resistant, and is 100% antibacterial and antimicrobial. We're easy on the eyes and on the maintenance. Gator Nation is worldwide, and Shark Coatings is based right in the heart of it. So whether you live in Brunswick, Georgia, or Live Oak, Florida, down to Ocala, over to New Smyrna Beach, or anywhere in between, contact us for a free estimate today. Learn more at sharkfloorcoatings.com. That's sharkfloorcoatings.com.
So definitely some interesting comments. If you didn't get to hear that, that was from Billy Napier on the SEC teleconference on Wednesday. And, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, on the surface, it does seem like, there's some work to do for DeJuan Black to see some more time on the field at the linebacker spot there. And I know a lot of people will look at Amari Burney and why he's out on the field and why can't he be replaced and why won't somebody else step up. And DeJuan Black's name has certainly come up plenty. And then after the onside kick return last week versus Tennessee will come up even more. And, I mean, look, this sounds like there's some away from football responsibility that DeJuan Black needs to take care of. That's exactly what it sounds like. Could we be reading too much into it? Possibly. I don't think so. Not from stuff I've heard, not from some of the stuff we've chatted about in the Discord today when that comment was made as well. Is it? There's so many ways to look at that. And first of all, it could be just some of it could be just pure football. Is there a separation between Amari Burney and Derek Wingo and Scooby Williams and Shamar James and DeJuan Black? I mean, look at the schedule Florida played and started the season with. And there was not a lot of time to really just tinker to go along with it. I mean, you got to go out there and win some ball games. You got to go out there and, against some tough opponents, go win a football game. And you can see where, all right, I'm going to lean on experience just a bit. Amari Burney, hey, look, there's been very little separation between Amari Burney and the younger guys. So with that being said, I'm going to lean on experience early in the season. Now, like I said, go back to the USF game. You wish that had turned out a little bit different. You wish you could give some younger guys some more playing time. And I'm not sitting here saying Amari Burney's this perfect player out there. Far from it. I've criticized him plenty. But also the Utah game, as like I said, it was a bad matchup. I think a lot of linebackers are going to have that issue there. But there's still some, not filling the right gap, not doing what you're supposed to do. But he goes out there and also makes some plays at the same time. If a younger linebacker was out there versus Utah and the game plays out the exact same way, do they make the play on the ball like Amari Burney did to end that game? I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think his experience played off in some form or fashion in that setting. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching a bit there. But also, he's made some impact plays. You go back and look at the Tennessee game this past weekend, and did he mess up? Did he have some running backs leaving him in the shoes at times? Yes. Did he not cover a linebacker at time? Yeah. But he also had a forced fumble. He also, there was a play where he shot the gap and stopped the run. And so for Amari Burney, there's going to be a lot of taking the good with the bad. Do I wish he was better at this point in time in his career? Yes, I do. It just still doesn't mean that he's not better than the one black, Derek Wingo, Scooby, and Shamar at this point of the season. So I do think the way the season has played out so far, those hard opponents, you do lean on experience just a bit. And so now going back to the one black, and it does make it sound like, are you doing the things you're supposed to do to get on the field? If everything is even on the field right now, where do you think the coach is going to go if you're late for meetings or you're late for practice or don't show up for class? I'm not saying all those things are what the one, but I'm just reaching here as far as what could be the issue. Are you doing the responsibility? Are you taking care of what you're supposed to take care of, doing the things you're supposed to do? And I know a lot of people will always go back and say, well, you play the best player, it doesn't really matter. No, you don't. No, you don't. How many times was it said trust and accountability was so lacking with the last staff and it tore the locker room apart? You want that again? You want this brand new coach to come in with something that we know was a huge issue the last time around and start off in that way with him? No, you're going to have to build the culture. It's not instant. Not everybody's going to be on board right away, and I think this is just a byproduct of that. And it really does sound like, I don't think we're reaching here, that Billy Napier was trying to send a message that, hey, there's things you have to take care of. There's things you have to take care of to get out there on that football field. There's a little bit.
With DeJuan Black, he's that kid you've been rooting for since 2019 to get on there. So we're talking a long time. He didn't make it to college initially, so clearly there's a lot of habits built in, and coach isn't magic.
Yeah,
I think there's a will in DeJuan, but it's not that easy. Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean he's a bad kid at all. I don't want to make it sound like that either. I'm not saying that's the way you guys take that or anything, but I don't want to try and jump on the kid a little bit here either. But at the same time, I think there's needs to be reasons pointed out for why he may not be on the football field. Anybody else want to hop in right here on the chat?
Hey, Dave.
Hey,
speaking a bit more generally about some of these changes we're seeing on the roster, I think, a lot of people are clamoring to get these changes faster. But, it is Napier's first year with the program. So I think to a certain extent, he still has to be assessing what he's got in the starters as well as the backups. So, from my chair, I think he is making changes pretty quick, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think so too. I have seen that thought out there that, he's not much different. He's playing Dean, he's playing Bernie, and where are the other guys at? Well, come on. There's plenty of other places where we've seen young guys play to where I feel good enough to say if there were better players, they'd be playing. We've seen Sapp play. We've seen McClellan play. Now, some of these are out of necessity and some of these are out of need. I completely get that. But, Devin Moore out there against Utah, very late in that game, first game of the season, his very first game as a true freshman, he's out there on the game-winning drive. So that shows me right there that he didn't need to be out there. Kimber could have been out there. You could have had Jordan Young out there. You could have had Avery Helm out there. I have to go back and look at who was out there, but nobody would have batted an eye in that situation if it was Avery Helm and Jason Marshall. But if I'm not mistaken, on that last drive, it's Jason Marshall and true freshman Devin Moore out there. And so I think we've seen Trevor Etienne on offense. So we've seen, I think, some plenty of places to where if younger guys, and let's go to linebacker, Shamar James passing a DeJuan Black, passing a Derek Wingo. Scooby Williams the same. He's younger than those guys. He's out there playing more than Derek Wingo and DeJuan Black. So I think there's plenty of scenarios to, I don't buy he's not much different than what we've seen before, because of Trey Dean and Amari Burney. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think we've seen plenty of young players, and I do agree with you. There's still some tinkering. There's still some learning going on early in this season, and also some must-win games out there early in the season. So I can see where if most of everything is even, I'm falling back on experience.
And it seems like he's not happy with necessarily the level of play right now. I think it's a big difference from Mullen too. Even if he's playing Dean, it doesn't seem like he's happy about that. He's noticing that there's play that needs to get improved. I just felt like Mullen always was like, no, we did pretty good today, and we'll keep recruiting at about the same level, and we'll keep the same players, and it'll just work differently next time.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in these locker room videos with the journey videos and in the press conferences. I mean, Billy Napier is different than Dan Mullen, where I think he's really, really harping on the execution. Saying, and look, he's taking ownership too, saying, look, I got to coach better. We've got to put these guys in better position at the same time. But, execution can be there. There's one player almost every play he has shared that with us. It seems like there's just one player who's messing up on one play. It might be this player one play, another player the next play, another player the next play, and especially on defense, that's where we're seeing that issue. And look, the consistency is part of the problem. It's maybe hard to figure out because it's not. I think probably Trey Dean probably been the more consistent player, so the change being made there if you buy him being injured or not. But I think a lot of us were willing to kind of jump and see a change. No, I do think he's pretty forthcoming in. Hey, look, there's execution. We can help him, but you can play better, guys. There's a level of play that I believe that you have, and we got to go see that.
Yeah, on that point, I mean, I think there's examples all around where he's playing better players or giving them more and more snaps, but Dan was a player who had Malik Davis running in front of Dameon Pierce, whereas Napier has ETN running in front of Lorenzo Ringard. That says a lot, I feel.
Yeah, that says a lot. And even though Naquan Wright's listed as a starter, I believe, has he led the team in carries in a game yet this year? I'm trying to remember a Utah game. But I know recently he has not. So I mean, carries are still getting split, still getting split a good bit. But especially the last game, it didn't really matter. All three running backs were pretty much producing the same.
I mean, the difference too between playing Naquan instead of ETN versus Malik Davis to Dameon Pierce, I think it's just like, it's not really the same. You've got a super senior who has been playing pretty well and just flashed very well, versus, like a true freshman who you are working into stuff and is probably still developing and getting better. Previously we had two super senior or senior players. One was just very, very clearly better than the other.
Yeah, and I get your point.
Go ahead.
My point, though, is that Pierce had already proven himself. I mean, remember, Pierce had a pretty good season his true freshman year. Mm-hmm. And he was just a little bit like he was a super senior, but he was still a year younger, right? And it just seemed crazy that he wouldn't be getting played. I mean, the snap count was obviously, we all know, was kind of ridiculous last season. So that's why I made the point. I think you're right. It's not apples to apples for sure, but it's even more of an extreme example in some ways, too.
I always go back to, you had a struggling quarterback. And why wouldn't you lean on a guy who had been going out there proving he can go run for 6-7 yards of carry and go help your quarterback?
Right.
One more angle to that too, and I've seen this brought up too, and I was like, well, I mean, practice can't be everything. How do we know? These guys aren't game day performers. I mean, come on, like, what are the percentages of players out there who are bad in practice but go out there and show it on game day? I mean, coaches don't look at it that way. Believe me, you might get a chance to go out there and do that, but the coaches are really going to, they're going to go look at practice, and that's going to be their first their first line of defense on who they play. What do you do in practice? Can I trust you in practice? All the other stuff where you trust, are you on time? Are you doing the things you're supposed to do? But if he can't trust you in practice, is he really just supposed to put you out there just to see if you're better or not? The coaches don't think that way. The game day performer is rare if you're not doing it in practice.
I think only 4 games in the season, some of the senior players that are getting more snaps than maybe we think they should can be explained largely by they know more. They had that experience. It does mean something.
Yeah.
And the 4, like you said earlier, the 4 games were our schedule has been tumultuous. Compared to any other team in the league. So the margin of error was so tight, you just kind of had to go with the more sure thing for the time being. But hopefully they really open it up heading into the middle of the season.
Yeah, I can see that too. I think we're starting to get more. Every it's kind of been a topic lately. Every data point now with the coach and the players is going to give us a bit more, and we're seeing changes. We're seeing changes on the depth chart right now. That's another thing. We're sitting here seeing all these changes. This is going into week 5, and we see Justice Boone now listed higher on the depth chart, and Kamari Wilson, and Jaden Hill with injury. Maybe that one's a little different, but still, I think you can maybe control that. And like I said, the backup linebackers with Shamar and Scooby Williams. At this point, if they really thought DeJuan Black was better than Amari Burney, then he'd be there. He'd be starting over me right now. I think there's enough evidence that we've seen throughout the first 4 weeks and the depth chart that no, it doesn't matter what year you are. If you're going to earn the spot, we're going to give you the spot. Yeah, I just don't think we can discount.
I'm really excited about Chris McClellan.
Man, me too. That those plays in the Tennessee game, I tell you what, they really stood out to me. Yeah. I go back and look at those plays a lot. They in that game they just really stick out. And this, they were bunched there together, of course, so kind of hard to forget, but also because we just haven't seen it from Jervon. And as I said, there can be reasons. Offenses are scheming towards him. They're double teaming him, even triple teaming him at times. We just have not seen. There's been a couple plays, of course, but I think the big standout plays so far from your defensive tackle, defensive ends there have been the Des Watson slamming the USF running back and Chris McClellan's couple of plays versus Tennessee.
Yeah, he really stood out. I feel bad for Dexter because I know he's getting swallowed up, but at the same time, he's still not. He's putting up no stats, which seems strange. But not no, but you know what I mean. Very low.
Lately, the last couple games, it pretty much is no stats. And don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not trying to sit here and compare him to Adama Su or a player like that. But don't you think offenses winning games and scheming to stay away from him or double team him or chip him, and he was out there putting up stats anyway?
So Dexter is not the first player to get double teamed.
Right, exactly. So look, he even tweeted that he can play better. And as you said, that dude, it comes with the territory. I wish he wasn't sitting there and double teamed and schemed against, but that's the reality of it. And don't get me wrong, that is a credit to probably how good he is or can be. But as you said, there's players out there all the time getting double teamed, and they still make plays happen. And we're just not seeing it. And that doesn't mean take him off the field or anything like that, because, that's at some point you need to rely, okay, well, if guys are going to double, triple team him at times, so all right, that means there's somebody else that needs to go out there and win some one-on-one battles. Somebody needs to go out there and prove it. So if he's opening up one-on-one battles for other players, he's still an asset out there on the field. Now it's up to those other players to go win those one-on-one battles, or those linebackers to fill the right gaps because an offensive lineman is so worried about Jervon Dexter. So he still adds value. Other guys need to step up and take advantage of that, but also let's like to see him fight that off and make some plays at the same time.
Yeah, but I do wonder, because they have him, around 60-plus snaps a game right now? If he was rested just a bit more and they rotated people in, strategically and had a really fresh version of him in the fourth quarter, maybe that's when he could make an impact.
Yeah, maybe that's
I
where
mean, they know better.
and maybe that's where McClellan comes in. Maybe he can start spelling Dexter a little bit more.
Oh, that'd be great. I can't believe how good he was. He really flashed on Tennessee. I mean, I'm not happy about the loss, but there was things to get excited about, and I feel like he was a big one for me.
And look,
That's good to do.
Yeah, and I get it because there's this whole thing. Well, we've seen these guys make their mistakes, and they keep doing it. So I'd rather see the young guys go out there, and if they're going to make the same mistakes, well, at least they're learning with the experience. That all sounds really good, and well and good on the surface, but if they go out there and cause a bomb, and you go out there and lose some games, you're not going to look back at that game and say, well, at least Jamar James got experience. No, you're still going to be ticked off Florida lost a game. So it all sounds good to type that on Twitter and all that stuff, but when it comes down to it and the scoreboard reads what it is and Florida loses the game, you're not going to feel any better about that loss because Shamar James and Kamara Wilson went out there and just got experience. No, you still want to go out there and win the ball games.
I mean, to that point, we were pretty pissed about that loss to Oklahoma.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Speaking of things to get excited about, do we think we're done with the yips with AR? Like, is that over officially, or are we going to play a home game again?
Yeah. And here's the thing. I mean, now you got this, and I'm not making a built-in excuse or anything like that coming up, but now it's, okay, well, the game's on Sunday instead of Saturday, and your routine's all kind of weird and messed up now, and you won't have the 90,000. You weren't going to have 90,000 for this game anyway, but you know what I mean. So there are some things that are different about this game, and hopefully you go out there and have another great performance and back up what we saw against Tennessee. So it is a good question. I think it's impossible to answer. I think it would be a complete guess either way right now. And it's really just your preference on how you want to move forward with Anthony Richardson. We've seen two good games. We've seen two bad games, and it really is it's up in the air. It really is up in the air on just how you think he's going to move forward. It is a wait and see and a prove it moment.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, how many games? It makes me ask myself, how many games would you need to see him be on to believe that he's going to be on continuing? It'd have to be quite a few. You have to put a pattern together, right? If it was bad, if it was good, bad, bad, good, we'd have to go good maybe 3 more times before I personally am feeling really convinced.
Yeah, not even sure if it needs to be in order. And look, he's not going to go out there and play like he did versus Tennessee each and every game. That's just, I don't think we should expect that. But we also don't need to see the floor performance. We think that Kentucky performance is the floor. We don't need to see that again. We need to see average to good to excellent from here on out. I don't need to see excellent week in and week out. Now, if we get that, of course, sign me up. I'll take that. I don't expect that. But I also don't want to see the floor. I want to see progression. I want to see go out there and manage a game. Quit with the interceptions, quit with the pick sixes. Read your plays.
Just don't want to see him kicking the ball so hard.
Yeah,
at nobody.
Yeah, so if it and maybe even some growth. You've heard Will say it at times too. See some growth. We still can see some growth. As good as that game versus Tennessee was, there's still some plays out there. There's still some check downs out there. Go out there and play smart. But I think if he can use that game as a building point, we should feel pretty good about it. We just can't see those 4 performances anymore. So I mean, I would say the yips. Okay, yeah, the yips are probably gone, but it is still a wait and see on what type of performance you're going to get. I mean, Eastern Washington is a pretty weak opponent. Whether he goes out there and runs for 50 yards, 70 yards, does he really need to run to feel that comfortable? And, especially against this kind of team, is this a team where he can just sit in the pocket and pick them apart? You'd hope so. You hope you don't have to run to get comfortable. But, we'll see. We'll see what it takes to get AR ticking and going.
I think we saw that they kind of changed the offense also. Not dramatically, but
Yeah.
he wasn't turning his back to the defense and having to, reestablish what the defense was doing. His handoffs were more, well, they allowed him to keep his eyes downfield the whole time, and I think that helped.
Yeah, as much as I love the pistol, it does not seem to be something comfortable for Anthony Richardson. I love the pistol. And the question I raised last week, if you are going to change some of the offense, what does it do to the run game? And I don't know if Florida could have run the ball better against Tennessee if they lined up in more pistol. I don't know. It's maybe a convenient look right now, but it did help your quarterback. And as Bull said, you didn't have to, when you're in the pistol, all those play actions, you don't have to turn your back. If the running back is off to your side a bit, you still can keep your eyes on the field, still can keep your eyes ahead. And speaking of that, just not even those type of plays, but I like what I saw from keeping his eyes down the field and keeping plays alive and climbing the pocket and getting rid of the ball while climbing the pocket. It wasn't just as soon as he climbs them in the pocket, it's I'm going to run. I mean, he made some plays climbing the pocket and getting rid of the ball, and that was growth. That was some growth to me in that environment, and it really led to some big plays.
Rewatching the game, do you think our problem with the running attack was is it Austin? I forget who the
Barber at right tackle.
The filling offensive lineman was, or was it just that one guy from Tennessee who was just eating the defensive lineman who was just eating our lunch?
Yeah, he was. Oh man, what was his name? Jeez. Dang it.
We couldn't block him. Nobody could block him.
Number 6. I know that much.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, number 6. He was everywhere. That was Tennessee knew what they were doing with him. They put that guy in some advantageous situations. And it didn't really. I say advantageous situations. It didn't matter where they put him. He did some good things against that Florida offensive line. So I don't know. I mean, I like the way Billy Napier adjusted. I think we all were in the Discord. And I wasn't the only one. It's like, all right, Florida started. We saw some issues in the run game. Maybe we should start moving it outside a bit. And as soon as a few of us said it, we saw it. We saw it right away. You started seeing AR with the quarterback sweep around. And that play was there numerous times. Even on the one time it didn't work. The blocking was there. The play call was there. Anthony Richardson just, the mess up happens right there. There were some good adjustments in the game, and it probably was Billy Napier's one, definitely at Florida. And I have to go back and watch some more Louisiana, but his in-game adjustments, his in-game coaching to keep Florida in it. Now, luckily, he had a quarterback he could trust, and that's where I think, going back to the Kentucky game, I really think that's what he was getting with Anthony Richardson. Hey, the switch is going to flip. I'm going to get the quarterback that I've seen all fall and that I can trust. It just never switched. Against Tennessee, it was there from the start. And I think Billy Napier was getting comfortable as the game was going on. All right, my quarterback is on it. I can call anything I want to right now and feel comfortable that it's going to work. And that allowed him to adjust the game plan a little bit. And if Florida needed to run outside, it was there, it was available, and it was working.
Byron Young, by the way.
Byron Young, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that was it. One thing that was weird with AR looking at the replay was that he wasn't looking over to his check down very regularly, which is interesting because, we've had way more quarterbacks who are too quick to go to their check down, and now this is kind of the reverse. Did you see any of that? There was a couple of times where their check down was just staring at him with the defenders all downfield.
Yep, it was there. That's what I was saying. I'd like to see that next step of his game. That's one of them, I think, is to start working those check downs more.
I would think that's an easier step to learn.
Oh, I think so.
A lot of the other stuff he's doing well.
Yep. I think so too. His legs come into play too, probably a bit. There were probably at times where his legs were the check down, and now it's okay. Well, you got a running back out of the backfield that's right there, just waiting on you, and you just give it to him, and there's a 7-yard gain. So. Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if that's the way he's thinking. In his head, he's thinking, check down. That's my legs.
Yeah,
That's
I think that can be. I think that can be part of it. I really do. And that was kind of from the Mullen scheme. I think your legs were your check down.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting.
Well, I don't think anybody thought we were winning the SEC this year, and that's definitely the case. So, what do they always say? As long as we get better from game to game.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of, the mindset I thought, going into this. I'd want to see Florida, and especially with a first-year head coach, be better in Game 12 than Game 1. I went in one of the episodes, I went and said, hey, look, when November rolls around, after A&M, when you play Carolina, Vanderbilt, and FSU, you got to end the season 3-0. That may look a little harder now, with FSU probably being a little bit better than what we thought. I don't think South Carolina's about the same. They're about where I thought they'd be. Vanderbilt maybe a bit better, but not nowhere near a game I'm picking Florida to lose. I still believe that. Florida needs to end the season 3-0. That is still a benchmark for me when you look at the schedule and how it breaks out right now. And the season may play out, and I may throw A&M in that, where you have to go 4-0. I mean, don't get me wrong. Have to. What does that mean? For me to feel really good about the next step and evolution of Florida football going into year 2. I think because of the opponent's 3-0, and that if you want Gator Nation to feel really good about going into year 2, you have to end the season 3-0.
Now we have a dangerous Florida State team to worry about.
I know that
have yet to be tested.
They've yet to be tested, but that matchup, them running the ball and our run defense. I mean, that's all I got to look at right now to say that's not going to be an easy game. Maybe they'll be 2-4 from Turkey. Day after Thanksgiving. Everybody doing good out there, by the way? If you've hopped in here and during this storm,
we had a ton of rain in Broward County, but other than a lawn chair being knocked over, not much damage.
Good to hear. Good to hear, Bull. Yeah, I'm just Jacksonville and just some drizzling rain. We have yet to feel any effects yet. So
yeah, Jacksonville's a yet, though, right?
Yet, right. It looks like we're getting better and better. Looks like as far as north of Florida, St. Augustine's probably going to be the kind of cutoff point, maybe. It looks like it's going to be, it might still be pretty bad there, but especially south, St. Johns County, St. Augustine. So hopefully, if you're all listening to this, when I put this out there, everybody is doing good, but that's probably where I'll be the next couple of days, is in the St. Augustine area.
So you're saying you're going to be in the line of the storm? For the channel, for Channel 4?
Yeah. I'll be my role will be floating camera, so I will be going wherever they want to send me. So
we'll stay dry.
Yeah, that's the plan. I don't have to go in until tomorrow evening, like 5ish. So we'll see. I think the brunt of it will probably be done, but we'll see how long it lasts. Sunday, what do you think? What do you feel about this Sunday game against Eastern Washington? You glad it's being played? Does it not really matter to you?
I'm definitely glad it's being played. I was like, oh no, because I'm not so sure we're gonna be bowl eligible. Because you can only win so many 50-50 games, especially in the first year.
That's true. And in the end, you probably could have appealed it if you're a 5-win team, but hopefully we're not to that point. So, I think we just want to see how AR responds, for one thing, to see, no matter the opponent, can he just keep it going? I don't know how much we'll be able to take away from it, but if it's not good, I think we'll take a whole lot away from it. If it's good, it's like, okay, well, it's there. Now SEC play comes into full swing, and we'll see if he can keep it going. But now with the depth chart coming out, I think we're kind of, okay, there we go. Let's see those young guys go out there and play a bit more.
Yeah, the way we played against USF, we didn't get our cupcake game. So this will be the first one where maybe we can see some other players. So I'm excited.
I mean, the only other player to take a snap was Montrell Johnson on the Wildcat last week, right? That's the only other player to take a snap this year?
Huh.
Hey, Dave, I missed the press conference today. Did anybody bring up whether or not we're going to keep trying to run the kickoff back?
He talked about that on Monday, and he did make it sound like it was still going to happen. There just may be some changes, and the changes were, I don't know if you saw it on the depth chart or not. Xavier Henderson is not listed on kickoff return anymore. It is Jamarcus Weston, Trevor Etienne, Naquan Wright, Travis Johnson. He did say they would look at it and they would, change accordingly. I was fine. I'll go back to it one more time. I said, I'm okay with keep trying it like you are, personnel-wise. If you want to bring it out for a couple more games. Try some different personnel, hit home the penalties one more time, try to hit that home. If it continues for a couple more games, all right, scrap it, wipe it, fair catch every time. When you start playing LSU and Georgia and Texas A&M, you cannot keep putting yourself in that position. It's easier schedule coming up. If you see where you're at, try and work on some things. Maybe see if those penalties calm down a bit. If they don't, when you get in the heart of SEC play, just scrap it.
Please. Oh, and by the way, I saw that you typed that they didn't come to you for a question. I think they're afraid of you.
They did not, man. I don't know about that, but SEC teleconference, I've usually been able to get in there. I was not able to get in there today, and then I was one of the first ones to put my name in to ask a question, and for the press conference, for the Zoom press conference, and no, it was skipped over. So
it's not a first in order sort of situation.
It is not. They go to the regulars first, and then usually come back around, but and sometimes it's not even consistent because back when I asked Mullen the old infamous question, I was like, I typed in the chat box, I got a question just like I normally do, and lo and behold, it comes to me first, which has never happened. And then whatever happens, but
yeah, we're gonna make you pay.
Yeah, I guess so. So
you got him his job. You should be first in line.
So yeah, I know. It was nothing major. I was just going to ask about Jervon and McClellan. I had nothing major to really ask, but there was. I thought there was an opportunity, but I guess not. I even had Nick text me when he saw me jump into Zoom. He was like, "Hey, Dave's back," and so. Oh, well, it's all good. I guess that's pretty. Go ahead, Bull.
I was just thinking, and I know we shouldn't look ahead. Mm-hmm. We have Eastern Washington this week, but it's Eastern Washington.
Billy Napier would say, don't look ahead. Do not look ahead.
Yeah, right. As you watch, and I'm looking way ahead. Okay. I've been watching these Texas A&M games. Mm-hmm. They look as bad as we do.
Yeah,
they are struggling.
That offense is nothing special. And who was it? Anais Smith, is that their wide receiver who went down versus Arkansas? He's going to miss the rest of the season. Yeah. So they were already struggling on offense and now losing one of their best weapons. And their defense is okay, pretty good. Probably not as good as what we thought coming into the season. So we'll see where that goes. But you're right. I mean, there's nothing to write home about with them. They beat a good Arkansas team, and the Miami win was looked at as bigger than it should have been at the time. But yeah, we'll see.
I don't know if you watched the Arkansas game, but they just out talented them.
Yeah, they
had more talent on the field, and it was just. I don't want to say both teams were trying to lose, but geez, for time from time, it looked like that.
Yeah, I watched the second half of that game. You're right. That's probably the biggest takeaway. They just had more talent. Neither team looked great, and I was thinking Arkansas, better quarterback. They probably could win that game. There was opportunity there for them to win that game, but you're right. When it come down to it, A&M just got the job done.
Yeah. So my point to all of that was that I'm looking at LSU and Arkansas. I thought, well, LSU, we should be able to win that. Texas A&M, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Probably not. Now, those are pretty comparable games.
No, I think so.
I look at that. Yeah, it's like we have a chance to win them both, and I thought I had Texas A&M penciled in as a definite L when the season started.
Yeah, you're right. With the way the season plays out there, LSU, I still don't know if we know a whole lot about them. I know a lot of people were picking them to lose versus Mississippi State, and that was before the season, before some even thought LSU was going to be pretty good, but they were thinking Mississippi State was going to be better. And then the FSU game rolls around, the season starts, and then people start feeling even worse about LSU. And then they beat Mississippi State anyway. Yeah, I still think we'll really start getting it. We know a whole lot about this Florida team because of who Florida's played. A lot of other teams still have not played, great opponents week in and week out. So we're going to start learning more about these teams. But yeah, LSU, I thought that was probably more of a 50-50 game coming into the season too. Anyway, just because coaching change going on there, everything that's happening kind of the same at Florida, culture change, all that stuff's got to take stronghold. And then we saw the FSU game being played against LSU. So yeah, okay, there you go. You got that game at home, very winnable game. You got a bye week the next week, so you can kind of rest up a bit. But now, yeah, the Texas A&M game. I mean, we know the horrors Florida's had there in 2020, but it is more winnable than I think a lot of people were predicting back in August.
Of course, what I'm doing with this far in advance predictions, I'm ignoring Missouri, which I think our head coaches have done since they joined the SEC.
Yeah, I watched because this was the first week. This is the first week I was home to watch a lot of football, and I watched that Missouri Auburn game, and that was some ugly football.
Ugly.
Yep.
Ugly.
And granted, Missouri was an ugly team last year too. But it's hard to get a measure on comparing to Florida this year to last year. But
LSU plays Auburn at Auburn, this weekend.
This weekend, yeah.
That could very well be a clown show as well.
It could be, right. I think we can't. That's what I'm saying. We'll start learning more about these teams now. We know Auburn's not good. So if LSU goes out there and looks like they did versus FSU and has another ugly game like that, then okay. I know it's a rivalry game and all that stuff, but okay. And that's a game, really, if LSU plays an average game, they win that game by 10. But if you're in a dogfight with Auburn, I think we can feel a little bit more confident about that LSU game coming forward. Now, at the same time, as Bull mentioned, we've got to see Florida look good versus Missouri next week at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the week we play Missouri, that's LSU, Tennessee, right? I believe.
I don't know.
So
yes, that's correct.
So
the Vols at Tigers.
Yeah, so LSU plays Tennessee, and then they play us. They play Auburn, Tennessee, Florida.
Yep.
So that's a tough stretch.
It is a tough stretch.
Although you got to assume that from this weekend anyway, Harrison's going to be playing for his job every week.
Yeah, and there was the rumor out there that if Missouri won that game, that Harsin was going to be fired. And I was like, man, there you go. I mean, Missouri's going to get, they're the coach killers. We got Mullen fired last year, and then we get Harsin fired this year. But it was not to be. But that's only a matter of time. No, I don't think he survives this year. So they're just looking for. My thing is, if you already know, why are you delaying the inevitable? I don't get it.
Are you saying that which must be done eventually must be done immediately?
That is what I'm saying. The infamous Jeremy Foley line. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people coming from the Auburn side of things saying that's just a matter of time. So
yeah. No, I have a buddy of mine who's a big Auburn supporter, and he's like, Harrison didn't mesh with the Auburn or even the SEC way of doing things. Like he is a square peg in a round hole.
They knew that when they hired him. That's what I don't get. Unless they went against the wishes of all those boosters that are now involved, and we're seeing the outcome of that. But
they need to get Dan Mullen. He's available.
Man, it wouldn't.
God. Don't give me
Man, I'm so
Greatest
glad.
thing ever.
I'm so glad Rooster posted that in the chat because I had that pulled up before I had to restart my computer. And he must have just read my mind. So if you're in the main chat, he posted first-year guys that Florida have seemed to really bought in. Of course, the transfers, Pearsall, Torrance, Kimber, Johnson. But look at the top recruits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, same number I had earlier. The top 5 recruits in the class are guys who have flashed and made plays through 4 games this year for Florida. Kamari Wilson's going to be starting this weekend. We're going to see him out there on the field a little bit more. Shamar James has looked good for a true freshman at linebacker. McClellan, we just talked about him earlier. Tennessee, ETN, I don't need to say anything about him. We all know about that. Devin Moore out there, final drive versus Utah. He's been playing sparingly too. I mean, the top of that class, stars matter. The top of that class has really contributed so far for Florida.
Yeah. And I'm glad you qualified Shamar James for a freshman because he struggled a little bit.
Yeah.
For a freshman, damn good.
Yeah, I mean, he's made plays and he's definitely looked like a freshman out there. There was one, I think it was versus Tennessee. I don't think it was the game before. I think it was versus Tennessee where, the running back, comes out of the backfield and he should have went with him. And nope, left him completely wide open. And I'm going to chalk that up to a freshman mistake. But, there are why don't we just replace this person with that person? Well, there might be the reason why.
Right.
Is there
I'd
something
rather him make those mistakes this year than, in a year or two because he didn't get any snaps.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Go out there and give them some snaps. They don't have to replace Amari Burney right now. There's still a use for Amari Burney out there. There's still use for not rushing those guys out there, letting them learn. Yeah. At least they're out there. They can learn from the mistakes. I'm not gonna sit here and say that cost Florida the game or anything. Of course, Amari James has made enough plays, I think, to warrant being out there and getting some playing time. But I think we're gonna see the mistakes along with it. It's also good that, we needed it just because of the position there at defensive line, but McClellan just ending up in the class because that was really questionable whether he was going to be in the class or not with everything that happened with Evers in Oklahoma and Gibson with Oklahoma. McClellan being from Oklahoma, there was a lot of talk he was just going to stay because he had got close with those players. He was just going to stay at Oklahoma. I mean, staff did a good job of making sure that did not happen. So I think, playing time and depth chart had a lot to do with it, but good sell by this staff to make sure that he did not get away.
Yeah, for sure. That was something I neglected to include when I was talking about how impressed I have been with him.
Because it was close to not getting him. that was scary.
Yeah. It's a little hard not to think about, TAMU and the state of their play where, they're coming off this most epic class, what was it, of all time? And seeing our true freshmen, in many cases, doing well, making mistakes, but doing very well. I don't know, I feel like there's something to that.
Yeah, I haven't heard, what's the big receiver's name? Evan Stewart out there at A&M?
Evan Stewart. Walter Nolan, I've looked in on him, as, at least not from a stat line perspective.
Litigator, you trying to say something? I heard your mic, but I'm not really sure if you got...
No. In fact, my mic has been acting funny.
No. I mean, litigator.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought Stewart got injured at A&M.
Well, wasn't he caught up in that where they suspended some players a couple weeks ago? All right, let me make sure.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Let's see. I thought that's what it was, but let's see. Yeah, they were suspended for the Aggies win over Miami. Evan Stewart and 3 other freshmen. He was off to a good start, so let me back up on that. He 10 catches for 170 yards before the Miami game.
That does sound pretty good.
Yeah. So, and then one of those were the App State game, right, where they did lose.
I guess it would have to be.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Sadly, you know who's tearing it up? Is Hopper in Missouri.
Oh, I know.
It's like their number one tackler.
Yep. Speaking of the Missouri Auburn game, yes, I didn't know the stats. I was like, oh man,
that's a killer.
It really is. This defense would be. I'm not gonna sit here and say they'd be excellent with him, but I don't think they'd be as bad as what as bad as what they're showing right now.
No doubt. They just are just struggling so much at linebacker.
Yeah.
Especially if Miller's not on the field.
It is. It is so apparent. But that's what we get for years after years and years of just tweeners and defensive ends playing or edge rushers playing linebacker and safeties playing linebacker. It's just, no, go recruit me some linebackers.
Yeah, it's really crazy how much it shows. Also, I don't think C-Rob's coaching or whatever was doing back there did anyone any favors.
Right. I'm not saying that can't work or couldn't work, but coaching didn't help him.
Yep. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, you usually say like first level, second level, third level, but in our team, it's just like, I don't know, it's all one thing. It just seems so porous.
It really is. Yeah, I'd like to see something at star. I mean, I think we're struggling there too. Trevez, he don't make a play here or there, but he takes himself.
Yeah, Trevez
he takes himself.
He's only like, yeah. Sorry, I was only going to say that the reason we're not bringing his name up is because there's more people in front of him to bring up.
Yeah,
he's not doing anything.
No, he takes himself out of play. He takes himself out of position a whole lot there. Perkins, I just hear he can't learn the playbook, and you can't trust him to go out there and do the right thing. And it's just, man, it's just.
He looks so athletic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a shame.
But that's interesting, though, when you think about it. There are so many of those guys that are struggling with the playbook. So if you hear of one who really can't learn the playbook, you got to say, like, my God, he must be doing 180 degrees different from what they want him to do. Because half of these guys look like they don't know the playbook. Like when they're looking at the quarterback and the receivers running right past them. Like, come on.
You have a way of putting it, Bull.
But it's true. It's like, did Mullen just go out and say, this guy's got 4 stars, recruit him? You don't want us to interview him? You don't want to see if he can spell his own name? Don't. 4 stars, recruit him. Anyway, it's what it seems. I think it just seemed dim.
It might have been that Dan was like, oh, wow, the rating agencies slipped one through and no one else wants them. Take them. So we'll boost my score.
Yeah.
That was part of it. Trying to get some of those late guys in.
Right, guys that would never qualify, but boost the rankings of the classes. We did have more than a few of those.
But yeah, I mean, on the depth chart, Will Coxon is third at star. So, I don't know there. Do you slide a Jordan Young over? Do you try him there? If things continue the way they are. I don't know. I don't know what you do at that position.
Young is a player. I'm surprised.
What was it, litigator?
Do we need that spot schematically? Like, aren't there teams that play without a star?
Yeah. I mean, it does depend on who you're playing, how you're playing. I mean, versus Tennessee, as much as they were going to stretch you out with 4, you were definitely putting, a star out there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that you're right. I don't know if that's something you change moving forward.
I always heard that the star position, they created the star position for the guys like, and I'm not going to remember his name, started with a U, who played for Chicago, who was both a safety and a linebacker. But if you play a run-heavy team, the guy who was the star was your third linebacker. If you play a pass-heavy team, who guy who's the star was your, fifth DB. And now they just have a tweener there, and they call him a star. I don't know if that's for the best.
Yeah, because the way it is not a linebacker cornerback hybrid. It is a just safety cornerback hybrid in this one.
Well, Chauncey was that, I think.
Yeah, he was.
Wasn't he?
Yep.
Okay. And he made it work.
Well, Chauncey is one of the best players in the NFL at that position too. That's a horse of a different color. We get somebody close to Chauncey, we can put him at star, and we're good.
It is, but think about the switch.
often?
But think about the switch too. Like Chauncey, the year before that was not that good.
Oh
No,
2017, he was rough.
Yeah,
but his final year was he was the best player on the field.
Yeah, that his last game in Atlanta, that was something to behold.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I brought him up, just exactly what Dave said, because I just remember going like, what is he doing the first season? And then just watching them, rocket ship as soon as Mullen came in.
And that was one reason I wasn't really ready to give up on somebody like a Trey Dean or somebody like an Amari Burney or something else. Like we've seen it. And I'm not calling those guys NFL talents like Chauncey Gardner, and that's not what I meant either. Just all right, it didn't look good before. Needed a different coach, needed maybe a different scheme, and it unlocked something. So, Burney, I'd say he's probably a hair better than what he was last year. I won't necessarily. He's making more impact plays. The bad plays are still there, but the good plays are better. I guess probably I should say it for Burney. Dean, no growth whatsoever. I haven't seen it.
No.
Cox,
what do you think,
Brenton Cox? I think he's better. Nothing special, but I think he's better than what he was. Kind of the same thing with Burney. His good plays are better, but the bad plays are still there.
Yeah, it's a good way. That's a euphemistic way of putting it.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Dave, I'd like your opinion on Princely. I was reading for some people say he's just undersized, but I don't know. Is that just another instance of someone not knowing the playbook, or? Because he always seems to be, he's there, he's around the ball, but he's being pushed out of the way. He's never making a play.
Yeah, I mean, if you just want to, if that's something you want to look at and say, I mean, he is being pushed around, he is being maybe more physically manhandled. I mean, Boone's got 15 pounds on him, according to the depth chart. Boone's 260, Princely's 245, and you can see it on the field too. When Boone comes out there, you see that difference, and maybe that is what it is. So yeah, there's probably something to that. I can go with that. I can agree with that.
Yeah. Princely's according to the depth chart, taller than Boone, but maybe he's just more slight. Yeah, doesn't have the body mass.
Yeah, because if I'm looking at it, I mean, if we're just looking at, if these are updated, I don't know how much we can really glean from this. You got Dexter at a defensive end, 312. Saps behind him at 263. And then McClellan, 305. Jamari Lyons is listed as a nose tackle. He's 298. Jalen Lee's 299. So.
Yeah, 245 is a little light in the britches for the line.
Yeah.
Although, what's his name? Powell Ryland. Well, look at him, 243, and he's in on a lot of plays. Both good and penalty causing.
Yeah. And Summerall, 231. And that might be why you just don't see him yet, and why he's not being able to kind of get out there. I mean, he's looked small to me out there when the little we've seen him.
But this is what we're kind of talking about. These are the Mullen recruits, the 4 stars,
But Summerall was good coming out of Lakeland. That wasn't
right.
I remember his recruiting. That was somebody I hoped we got because I saw him play a little and he was good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why maybe this is just the style. They need big bodies on the line. in the new defense, and some of these guys are just getting pushed out of the way by the beef, like Desmond Watson.
Yeah, I was hoping, talking about one-on-one battles up front earlier, I was hoping Watson would be able to kind of follow up his USF game with some plays, but I don't remember him really standing out much versus Tennessee. I mean, nobody up front really did, honestly.
No.
I mean, you had your linebackers come in through the middle, and they were blitzing, making some plays. Hey, that was another adjustment I liked seeing. It was something we haven't really seen. But I think it was something they identified. We saw them attack up the middle. It made a difference. But then they even said, let's put Brenton Cox over the middle too. I mean, Brenton Cox played middle linebacker when he was, kind of rushing in on the quarterback. They lined him up over the center. I think they identified that's where Tennessee was weak. And we're going to attack the center. We're going to blitz the center. I mean, it almost paid off. I mean, I think that the Bernie sack fumble was there. I think Cox did get into the backfield one time and then got into the backfield on the 3rd and 10 as well from the middle spot. And, just, man, if he makes that play, I think the game's a little bit different. But I think they identified something and rotated players differently there at that middle linebacker spot. You had Cox, you had your traditional Miller and Bernie. That was something different. I like what they showed, what Patrick Toney showed, with moving Brenton Cox around a little bit and taking advantage of a weakness where they saw against Tennessee.
We didn't record any sacks in that game, though, did we?
Nope.
Yeah, Shamir James had one, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Shamar did. Yep, that's right. He did.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. Because what I remember, it's probably because I remember too much negative, is that Hooker just killed us with his legs. I mean, that was, I don't want to say the difference in the game, but that was the difference in the game.
Oh, it was.
I mean, the fact that he could run up the middle and we would just watched him.
Yep. I mean, even when Florida did win up front, I said you got to go win your one-on-one battles. When they did win up front, it was, Hooker's going to make the play anyway.
Yeah, it was a killer.
He was the difference maker. He really was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, Florida did win up front. He just, you know what? I'll make the play myself anyway. And he broke away from tackles. Then the one against Cox where just so close on the 3rd and 10 and making the first down. I mean.
Yeah, it was frustrating. But, they got to win 2 games out of every 17, I guess.
They got to keep the hate in our hearts a little bit. They got to win one to keep the hate in our hearts.
That's a strange positive, but yeah, I kind of see what you're saying.
Hey, I'm reaching here, so right, come on, man.
Rivalry still alive.
Yeah, there we go. Now I can.
Is Hendon Hooker coming back next year?
Yeah, he's a redshirt senior, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
he should.
That's what I remember seeing.
This is his 5th year playing. Like, he's had 5 years because of COVID. He didn't redshirt a year. He played 5 years.
Yeah, he is done. No more eligibility left for him.
And he came from VT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess Fuente just didn't know how to use him, or he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, the matchup with Brew McCoy helps. I mean, I think there's just more talent around him, obviously. So he did do a good job. I mean, he's probably a better quarterback all around than Will Levis.
Yeah,
yes.
I think so. I mean, he was one reason that offense was the reason I picked Tennessee over Kentucky. I picked Florida above both of them, so I guess shame on me. But
I just keep getting confused because the praise that Will Levis is getting always makes you go, "What am I not seeing?"
Yeah,
well, he's real tall. He's got a cannon for an arm, so they look at that as potential.
Yep.
And that's what everybody's seeing because they can't be looking at what he's doing on the field.
It was put in the chat earlier today, and I was like, you know what? He can be one of those, guys that are just under the radar in college. Well, I guess he's not under the radar because they're picking him high in the draft for a lot of mock drafts. But it's the college production does not match the potential, and I guess he can be one of those guys. But he would be, I guess the way they're picking it, he would be a better NFL quarterback than he is a college quarterback.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
He's got a lot of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say your description of being tall with a cannon for an arm, not the same thing exactly, but obviously both of those things Frank's had. That's really competitive.
I think they're thinking more Josh Allen than Felipe. In the NFL.
He's bigger. He's thicker too. I mean, Felipe's a string bean.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good chat, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having it, Dave.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks,
gonna double dip on this one since the rest of my week is pretty much taken up. So I'll give everybody a taste. If they're not Gators Breakdown Plus members, they get a taste of something we do here, especially during the season. A lot more. I should do it more, but season gets kind of crazy. And now I'm back in the office at work a little bit too. So I'm trying to still trying to figure.
Did your wife give you a hard time when you say, "Honey, I'm going to go for a chat on the Discord for an hour"?
I won't say a word there.
Okay.
No, she's pretty good about it most of the time. It's just helping my daughter with homework and all that kind of stuff too. Real life gets in the way a little bit. So
Right.
trying to that's why I kind of like trying to do it around lunchtime sometimes as well. But of course, more people can join in the evening. So I'm still trying to, now that I'm back in the office, still trying to kind of figure the schedule out a bit. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to try and get a better hold on it. And then, of course, the hurricane hits this week. So it kind of throws the schedule up in the air again. So
That's true. All righty, Dave. Well, thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you so much. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown and your Gators Breakdown Plus preview. That chat preview of what we do each and every week on Gators Breakdown Plus. So that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Everybody stay safe out there, and thank you for listening to this episode of Gators Breakdown.